Manx Radio's update with Christian Jones.
First to my good afternoon, it's 5 o'clock on Thursday the 28th of August. I'm Christian Jones and this is Update. Welcome in to 30 minutes of all the latest news, sport and travel compiled from the resources of Manx Radio's newsroom on the way tonight. With pressure to cut costs, can Manx Care justify an extra £750,000 to clear dental waiting lists? Meanwhile, inmates at the prison are gaining new skills through accredited courses, and the Typhoon fighter jet is set to take to the skies. All those stories and more on the way for you. If you want to say hello, drop me a message in the usual way. You can text WhatsApp to 166 177 or email me at studio@manxradio.com. First of all, though, let's get the latest with Amy Griffiths. Faster, my Amy.
Faster, my. Manx Care insists no other service will face cuts to fund work to eliminate the waiting list for dentists. It's agreed new contracts with its dental providers, enabling them to take on more NHS patients. CEO Teresa Cope says investing the extra £700,000 a year now will save them money down the line.
It is an important priority, and if that does eliminate the waiting list, I think that's a very good return on that level of investment.
A long-derelict Douglas Promenade Hotel is to be redeveloped into apartments. The planning committee has approved proposals to convert the Marina Hotel into 9 flats. Serving inmates at the Isle of Man prison are getting new skills and gaining qualifications through new accredited courses. Building skills lecturer John Dunn says he hopes it will make prisoners work ready while also improving their well-being.
I'm reasonably confident I should be able to get some flying in, which will be great, and it's looking like it should be a rolling display, which will still showcase pretty much all of the aircraft's capabilities and performance.
And that's a sneaky peek from the pilot squadron leader Nathan Shawyer, who is going to be flying over Douglas Bay this evening in the RAF Typhoon display. It's to commemorate the 2025 Classic TT. We'll have live commentary here on Manx Radio's FM and AM channels from 7:25. To international news now, and Lotus is cutting 40% of its workforce at its factory in Norfolk. Up to 550 jobs could go at the sports car maker as part of restructuring plans. The price of weight loss drug Mounjaro won't be going up by as much as expected from next week. It's understood the injections will be heavily discounted at pharmacies, according to a confidential document from manufacturer Eli Lilly. And 4-time Tour de France winner Chris Froome is in a stable condition after coming off his bike during a training ride. He needs surgery for the injuries he sustained. Those are your headlines. I'll be back with your news in full at 6.
World-class racing has returned to our island. Make a pit stop at your local Tesco and pick up crowd-pleasing bites, drinks and camping must-haves. Tesco, every little helps.
Gurumai, thank you very much for that, Amy. Let's take a look at the weather now. Brought to you by Manx Glass and Glazing. Cloudy and mainly dry to start, then showery outbreaks of rain developing later this evening and overnight. Moderate to fresh southwest wind, gradually decreasing overnight, and a minimum temperature of 13 degrees Celsius. Tomorrow, though, mainly dry and bright to start with sunny intervals, then an increased risk of a few showers later in the day and evening. The light to moderate west or southwest wind will increase moderate to fresh in the afternoon as temperatures rise to 18 degrees Celsius.
Manx Glass and Glazing can supply and install single, double and triple glazing. Call 674 573 or visit the showroom on the Snugborough Trading Estate.
TE Carbon provide new memorial stones, grave renovations, new inscriptions and fire hearths. Visit us at Hope Street, Castletown or at Broadway, Douglas, or call 844 440. TE Carbon, here when you need us.
At Bond Fabrics, we're not just a fabric shop. As well as curtains and upholstery and dress and costume fabrics, we've knitting and crocheting wools, made-to-measure curtain and blind service, plus poles and tracks. Visit Strand Street, Douglas, call 611856 or see bondfabrics.in.
Most builders start with a hammer and saw. Manx Construction start with ideas and imagination. For new build, extension or home office, Manx Construction offer full service from planning to completion. Call Tony on 452 688.
If you have children, pets or a house, talk to Peace of Mind about a will or power of attorney, which will help family members when it matters. Prices from $199 plus VAT. Find us on Facebook or call 632 610.
You're listening to the Isle of Man's quintessential daily news and current affairs roundup. Update on Manx Radio.
5 minutes past 5 on Manx Radio's Update. Welcome to the programme. Now, Manx Care says it's renegotiated its contracts with dental providers and hopes to have almost eliminated the entire waiting list by March 2026. But with the pressure of efficiencies hanging over them, can Manx Care really commit to the £700,000 it's going to cost just as saying this every year? Chief Executive Theresa Cope and Health Minister Claire Christian have been speaking with Amy Griffiths.
We had to find a solution which effectively was able to incentivise our dentists, because we know it's difficult to recruit and retain, and they also have a big existing group of patients on their list. So we had to think innovatively about how we would incentivise this with our contractors, and we wanted to move to these different recall periods, but an important part of it was to also incentivise a new payment structure. So we had fallen slightly out of step with what's been paid in England, and there wasn't a consistent payment structure, and that's what our dentist was telling us. So it was making things difficult for them. It was meaning they weren't necessarily able to do as much NHS activity as what they would like, and so partly it was sort of feedback from our dentist providers about what would work for them.
Just putting obviously patients first in this, certainly when we discuss the mandate going forward for the following year, I think that the benefits completely is really, really important for return on investment for £600,000. Obviously the additional costs will be closely monitored by Manx Care within this budget, so that's part of their remit for this year. But I think just talking about the benefits to patients, just to really sort of home in on that. So they're going to, timely access. We're reducing the waiting list and giving them more timely access, so more efficient use of appointments and resources. And then in terms of the fair allocation, so priority is going to be given to children and to families and those with urgent needs or long waiting times. And the dentists and the DHSC obviously have worked together to reduce this waiting list. I know, it's when are the dentist waiting lists, going to be reduced, and that's what the public have said and have asked, and that is what Manx Care are doing. And so they're looking within their own budget how they can fund that, and that's what they've done as the provider, and we completely support that.
That's the Health Minister Claire Christian speaking there. Before that was Chief Executive of Manx Care Theresa Cope, both speaking with Amy Griffiths. Now, the number of bicycles stolen on the Isle of Man in recent weeks is unheard of, according to a senior police officer. Temporary Chief Inspector Chaz Maloney is urging the public, particularly those visiting for Classic TT, to keep their belongings secure to avoid becoming a victim of theft. He's told Alex Brindley there's been a notable rise in these types of crime, especially during the racing period.
There's been a significant increase in petty crime or acquisitive crime. To put it in some sort of context, the Isle of Man is a very safe place, and thankfully acquisitive crime or thefts are relatively low.
What's the official term? Acquisitive crime?
Acquisitive crime.
My word, that's a tongue twister. Yeah.
I couldn't spell it, to be fair. There's been 10 theft of bicycles in recent weeks, which is, unheard of for the Isle of Man. And then further to that, we've had a report of a burglary, whereby somebody's basically left the tent insecure and people have entered and stolen items, and therefore it's a very clear message: if you've got something which could be stolen, please make sure it's secure.
What sort of assistance can you guys help with? The thing that came to mind, I remember it used to be known colloquially as twocking, didn't it? Taken without consent. What sort of help and assistance is there out there for people? Because securing a tent is quite difficult, isn't it?
It is. Ultimately, there's police officers wandering around the grandstand, around the tent sites, and basically crime prevention advice can be given. Certainly in regards to bikes, I know that the Eastern Community Team have basically initiated an anti-bike theft scheme, whereby basically bikes can basically be marked, and then if they are stolen, we can basically return them to the rightful owner as and when they're found.
You're listening to the Isle of Man's quintessential daily news and current affairs roundup. Update on Manx Radio.
Now, a lot of us have seen pictures of it, have heard about it, but maybe don't know much about it. The Eurofighter Typhoon. That's the aircraft that protects UK airspace. Well, I'm joined by Chris Pearson, who'll be commentating on the display. It's also fair to say he knows a thing or two about aviation. He's an RAF reservist too. First of all, Chris, well, to start with, for those that aren't aviation fanatics, what makes the Typhoon such a distinctive aircraft?
In one word, from a display purpose, in one word, noise, it will be a very noisy, very fast display. So we see the red arrows coming over during TT, and there are 9 aircraft, and they look fantastic. The Typhoon stroke Eurofighter, same thing, is a faster, noisier aeroplane. It has an afterburner. So it just looks like basically a huge flame that will come out the back when the pilot decides to sort of put on some speed. So you will see that, you will hear it. It's a very fast display.
And I've actually read that the Typhoon can fly at more than twice the speed of sound. That is fast.
It's incredibly fast, exactly. So sometimes, yeah, certainly if you're in certain places where they do low-level flying, you'll see it long before you hear it, is the bottom line of that. But it won't be going quite that fast tonight. There's obviously almost a figure-of-8 display that will be happening over Douglas Bay, with the centre pretty much out to sea from the War Memorial. So if you're watching from the Prom, you'll get a great view. If you're watching from Onken or Douglas Edge, you'll get a fantastic view.
I'm just fascinated by the speed that it can go at. I mean, if you were to travel at that speed, what would that feel like for the pilot? Because you obviously are a pilot yourself. How would it feel to go that fast?
So the acceleration is one thing. I was very lucky in the Falkland Islands a few years ago to get a ride in the predecessor aircraft for the Typhoon, which was the Tornado. And when the pilot said, we're now going to go supersonic, and he basically cleaned the aircraft up and hit the button that made the afterburner came on, it was a kick in the back. It was really, you could just feel that power and that surge of power. For the pilot himself tonight, Nathan will be pulling up to 9G at times, so that's 9 times your own body weight. And the way the pilots feel that most is in extremity, so your head will feel very heavy. The blood tries to run to the core of your body, so they have G suits on to try and push the blood back out, and they can only sustain that. Even the best trained pilots, fittest pilots, can only sustain that for a limited period before they go into grey out and eventually blackout. So it's intense. It's a physical workout.
And that must take a lot of training to be able to sustain that sort of gravitational force.
Absolutely. And part of the selection process that goes on for pilots will involve them going through a process in a centrifuge to make sure they've got what it takes. Some people just can't. If you have a sense of balance which goes off and you can't take it and you're sort of greying out, if you're not good at fairground rides, I would imagine you're probably not going to make a fast jet pilot these days.
That's me ruled out then.
You and me both.
One of the most recognisable features, I'm told, is the small wings at the front. I'm told they're called canards, is that right?
That's right, yeah.
What do those actually add to the aircraft's performance?
So basically, if you think back to classic fighters from the past, things like a Spitfire or a Hurricane were aerodynamically designed so that they could be flown and flung around and whatever else. Technology has moved on so much now that if it wasn't for the computer in the aeroplane, the pilot would not be able to control it. The aeroplane is basically designed to be inherently unstable. Why would you do that? The idea of that is that you can pull very fast, very tight turns. So if you're in a dogfighting situation, to use an old phrase, you can turn on a sixpence. You can pull it round very, very quickly. That's great, but it makes the aircraft very unstable. So part of the process for making it more stable, as those canards at the front that stick out, if you imagine it, if you've never seen a Typhoon parked, it looks like somebody wearing a polo top with the collar turned up. That's what it always looks like from the front. It looks like some rugby player sitting in the bar. But yeah, that's what they're designed to do, and it's all part of the computer control. The pilot will push the controls where they want it to go, and the computer will interpret that and make the aircraft do it, and that's part of the system.
And we often hear that the Typhoon is on standby to protect UK airspace. What does that involve day to day, do you know?
So yeah, basically 365 days of the year, 24 hours a day, we have what's called QRA, Quick Reaction Alert. So 2 RAF bases in the UK, one at RAF Coningsby in Lincolnshire, one at RAF Lossiemouth in the far north of Scotland, have got Typhoon squadrons who will be on standby 24/7. Pilots, a bit like when you watch an old film from the Battle of Britain, pilots literally wearing the uniforms and ready to scramble out. So he or she would just be out into the aircraft and airborne in no time at all. It's an incredible thing to watch. So everything from an aircraft which maybe isn't talking to air traffic control through to somebody actively acting against our interests, so maybe a Russian Bear aircraft or whatever coming into the area, they will get scrambled, and 24 hours a day they can be there in minutes.
And just lastly, is there a piece of trivia or a surprising fact that you know about the Typhoon that you think maybe would impress even people that are not as interested in planes as you are?
Here's one for you. So it's not so much the aircraft, it's the helmets that the pilots use now. The pilot has the ability in modern fighter aircraft, so the Typhoon and the Lightning, the F-35, the one that operates off of a deck carrier, they have an ability to switch a facility on the helmet. There are cameras all over the aircraft, and the pilot can basically make themselves and the aircraft invisible through the visor. So if you want to know what's down and to your left or right below you, you switch that mode, and then you look down, you physically look with your head down, and the cameras around the aircraft and the helmet let you see that. It must be freaky to look down and see your body isn't there and you're basically just going through space with nothing around you. But it's a defensive thing that lets them do that.
So do they have to train with an Oculus Rift or something?
I would imagine so, and I think the helmet itself is like worth £250,000 or something.
Okay.
But
a little bit more pricey than an Oculus Rift.
It's not the sort of thing you're going to get off the shelf at PC World very easily.
That's Chris Pearson, who'll be commentating the Typhoon display later this evening. That's getting underway at 7:30. Live commentary begins at 7:25 on Manx Radio FM and AM. And naturally, it's going to be very loud, so don't bring your dog, they won't like it. If you are bringing your kids, though, then ear defenders may be a good idea. One last little bit of advice. If you're going to be listening to the commentary, FM and AM will be the best, as DAB and online will have a short delay.
Manx Radio Travel, driven by Quayside Tyres and Service Centre.
Well, naturally, as we've just been hearing, the Typhoon display taking place over Douglas Bay, so there will be large crowds expected on Douglas and Onchan Head. Also the prom too, likely a lot of traffic there, or just generally busy around Douglas. So if you are going to be out and about, or if you're coming to watch the Typhoon, then do leave plenty of time getting to and from your vantage point. Tomorrow is the final day of the Classic TT racing for this year. Roads around the course are due to be closing at 9:30 in the morning, so that's one to be aware of if you are heading out in the morning. Also elsewhere, a short stretch of Glenfaber Road closed 24 hours a day near the new sewage treatment plant for installation of a new water main. Traffic is being diverted via the Patrick Road, St John's and the A1 in and out of Peel. Quick look at the steam packet. All is looking good over there. We'll head on down to Ronaldsway Airport. Just a couple of things to be aware of that I'm seeing here on the departures board. The 450 Loganair to London City should be getting away in just over 10 minutes actually, so not too long left. Also the 5:15 EasyJet to Manchester, little delay there. That's not due to be getting away until 5:40. Of course, if there is anything which I have missed that you want to let me know about, that you spot while you're out and about on the roads, do ping me a text or 166 177, email to studio@manxradio.com.
Quayside Tyres and Service Centre with 1 year's free engine warranty from Castrol. Get more with Quayside. You're listening to the Isle of Man's quintessential daily news and current affairs roundup. Update on Manx Radio.
18 minutes past 5 on Manx Radio's Update. Now, serving inmates at the Isle of Man prison are acquiring new skills and gaining qualifications through new accredited courses. At the in-house Ellen Vannin Skills Centre, they're learning new trades to make them work-ready, all while giving back to the community. It's after the prison achieved City and Guild status earlier this year. John Dunn is the building skills lecturer there. He's been speaking with Siobhan Fletcher.
The courses I'm running at the moment is bricklaying, carpentry and joinery, plastering and plumbing, but I'm looking at other courses to take on.
And so what does that then look like for the prisoners day to day?
Well, day to day, the lads who come over, they get a great deal of satisfaction out of it. They enjoy it a lot. It's open to all prisoners, so that includes males and females. The girls who come across and have done the taster courses in plastering and the bricklaying have absolutely loved it. And to be honest with you, they excel in it. They're far more meticulous in their approach, whereas lots of lads just want to get it up and done.
Is the end goal of this to basically, when they complete their sentences and they come back out, just giving them those skills to be able to, go and get into work?
It is. That's one part of it. I mean, because you've got to look at their well-being and everything else that comes with that. A lot of them get so much enjoyment out of it, and not all of them want to become joiners or bricklayers, but they get a good taste of what trades is like. And of course, it helps them build bridges when they leave prison to re-establish goodwill with their families and friends.
As well, then, I suppose, alongside that prep for when they come out of prison, it might just be something for them to do, something to get out and about and be doing.
Yeah, well, that's the end game. So what I'm really looking for is to get prisoners work ready. So I'm always reaching out to contractors and companies. So we've had Construction Isle of Man involved. I'm hoping to build bridges there, hopefully to get prisoners work experience in the long run.
That's building skills lecturer John Dunn speaking to Siobhan. Now, Manx Utilities' planning application for its Garth sewage treatment works has been made publicly available. A treatment plant has been in the works for the area since 2020 and the authority is hoping to have it completed within 2 years. Our local democracy reporter Emma Draper has more details.
Manx Utilities says the continued discharge of the Garth community's untreated sewage into the Irish Sea must stop, and to do nothing is not an option. It says the authority's application for sewage treatment works at Axonfell Plantation has been validated and uploaded onto the planning portal. Documents say the site will comprise of 5 associated sewage pumping stations, which will be at the Cairn, Ballacollister Road, Garwick Glen, Telephone Exchange and Kilkellan. It also says that 6.6 kilometres of underground pipelines will link the network together and pump sewage to the main station and would be returned using a gravity sewer to the sea via the existing Laxey outfall. The main plant is due to be located along the southern edge of the plantation, adjacent to Ballacollister Road. As part of the application, 3 unused holiday chalets and a number of trees would have to be demolished to make way for the pumping stations. However, the MUA says the public health benefit of having a sewage treatment works outweighs the tourism need, and also has plans to plant new trees on the site to mitigate the loss. It also says that if planning approval is granted, the construction phase would begin in 2026 and could take between 18 and 24 months. Planning documents also say a bridge over the river would be needed to support the construction work site at the Cairns. The application, as the sewage treatment works process, will comprise of 3 covered integrated rotating biological contractors, which should provide operational treatment capacity up until 2050. It also says the proposed site would include sufficient space for a potential 4th covered IRBC to serve beyond 2050. Documents also show the operational lifespan of the proposed development is between 60 and 100 years for civil structures.
Local democracy reporter Emma Draper there. The churn of members in Tynwald has created quite a lot of friction during the current administration, according to the Manx Parliament's longest-serving member. Russian MHK and Speaker of the House of Keys, Juan Watterson, was first elected in 2006. One area of change during Mr Watterson's time in Tynwald has been in the Legislative Council, once seen as a chamber for former MHKs. The upper branch now has no members who've served in the House of Keys. Mr Watterson has been speaking to Phil Gaughan.
It's been quite challenging, this administration. When I came in my first term, there were a lot of people around who knew the ropes, knew how it worked, both in government and in that sort of scrutiny world as well. And you could absorb a lot from that. And as time has gone on, that the churn rate in the House of Keys in Tynwald has increased dramatically. And so we really struggle with that common understanding of the rules, the culture, the process of Tynwald and Keys. And that makes doing the business just that little bit harder if there isn't that common understanding. And that I think has led to quite a lot of friction in this term. And that's really unfortunate because that's kind of wasted time rather than getting on with the business of improving the Isle of Man, which is what we're all there to try and do.
And is that potentially where a rethink on who you elect to Legislative Council needs to go on?
I think there's an acceptance that perhaps the baby was thrown out with the bathwater in terms of having no former MHKs in Legislative Council to bring that experience there. The thing is that because we've had that churn, there aren't really the available candidates coming forward who would be interested in that as a way forward. People who have come forward and thought, actually, the thing that I'm best at in this job is the legislation. I would like to therefore spend more time doing that, and a career in Legislative Council is for me. So that's a challenge. I think that there's a need for that, in the next sort of 5 to 10 years going forward. Hopefully there'll be some that do specialise more in legislation.
That's Speaker of the House of Keys, John Watterson, speaking to Phil Gaughan. Right, sport up next.
This is Manx Radio, but you knew that already. Did you know there's another Manx Radio 24 hours a day?
Manx Radio Gold.
Playing the greatest hits on earth from the 60s and 70s, the 80s, 90s and beyond.
Manx Radio Gold.
On your smart device, select the Manx Radio app, press Gold, and there it is, 24 hours a day with the greatest hits on earth.
Manx Radio Gold.
Or say, Alexa, play Manx Radio Gold.
Manx Radio Gold.
Manx Radio Gold plays the greatest hits on earth 24 hours a day. Now on your smart device.
You're listening to the Isle of Man's quintessential daily news and current affairs roundup. Update on Manx Radio.
25 minutes past 5. Let's turn our attention to sport, and we can say Fastamai to Darren Timson.
Fastamai, an Isle of Man athletic sprinter, will represent England this weekend after receiving her maiden call-up. Megan Piley capped off an impressive season by earning her first vest to represent the team at the Manchester International at Sport City this Saturday. Her consistent form has been rewarded with selection for the England 4x100 relay team. Earlier in the summer, she broke the 12-second barrier in the 100-metre for the first time and was already due to compete at the event in the individual 100-metre. In rugby, Douglas were beaten by an All-Ireland League side in their final pre-season fixture at the weekend. Ulster side Ballymena made their first visit to Portachi as they recorded a 38-7 win over the hosts on Saturday. They stretched a comfortable 19-point lead by half-time before scoring 2 unanswered tries in the second 40. The Golfing League standings showed in the first half as Douglas took their time to settle. However, fullback Jonty Cope muscled over beneath the post for Nathan Robson to convert as they scored their only points of the game. Douglas's next fixture will be back in the Regional 2 Northwest against Division newcomers North Ribblesdale on Saturday, 6 September. In hockey, junior girls squads travelled to Cumbria over the bank holiday weekend for some pre-season fixtures. The under 14, 16 and 18 sides took on Sedbrook School, renowned for hockey. All 3 sides put in spirited displays, however the squads returned to the island without a win. The 14 sides were beaten 9-1, while the 16s lost 5-0. And finally, the under 18s lost 8-1. And there's only 1 day left of Classic TT racing. The 2 laps Historic Junior will start the day and will be followed by the 2 laps Historic Senior. Then in the afternoon, 2 weeks of racing will end the Senior Classic TT race at 1:45pm.
Good reminder. Thank you very much for that, Darren. That's it for Update this evening. Thanks very much to newsreader Amy Griffiths. Beth Espy is up next with Journey to a Dream. Michelle Kane after that, sitting in for Chris Kinley. I'll be back with you tomorrow, same time. So until then, take care. Bye-bye for now.
As part of MGP and Classic TT25, look to the skies above Douglas Bay. For the very first time, the RAF Typhoon will be thundering into action to display above the Isle of Man. Tonight, 7:30pm, don't miss the breathtaking speed, power and noise of Britain's frontline jet fighter. Catch every manoeuvre with commentary live on Manx Radio FM and AM. Bring a radio tune in and feel the thrill as it happens. The Royal Air Force Typhoon display. Loud, fast and unforgettable.
In life, we plan for birthdays, anniversaries and holidays. But what about planning for the unexpected?
I've worked hard all my life. I want to make sure everything's in place for my family.
Man Benham understands. We specialise in enduring powers of attorney, mental health receiverships and are there for you when mental capacities decline.
Thanks to Man Benham, your legacy is protected.
Secure your family's future today. Visit manbenham.com because peace of mind is the best legacy.
Spectrum Windows. If your house needs a new look and your windows letting rain, keep those cold breezes out and make it look like new again. Spectrum Windows, Spectrum Windows. Quality through and through. Great work guaranteed to you. Spectrum Windows, Spectrum Windows. Spectrum Windows.
Ramsey Garden Centre for roses, shrubs, climbers, trees and perennials, or solar lights, stone ornaments and bird baths. There's never been a better time to visit Ramsey Garden Centre. Open 7 days a week.
Discover your dream home in Andreas with Kell Developments Limited. Their quality new build 2, 3 and 4 bedroom properties offer countryside living with amazing views just 5 minutes from Ramsey. These spacious homes are built for modern energy efficient living with ground floor underfloor heating and air source heat pumps. Plus